Today I'm going to be showing you how to add people to a mailerlite group once they've bought something from your Stripe account. Now, obviously this doesn't work out of the box. Stripe doesn't have an option to add people to mailerlite groups when people purchase your products. So in order to make this work, we're going to use another service which is available for free called pipedream. Pipedream is a really fantastic application that lets you create different workflows to do a whole bunch of different things and connect up different apps from across the internet. Obviously, what we're going to use it for today is going to be a very simple scenario and just a drop in the ocean of what Pipedream is capable of. Pipedream, as I've said, is free to use up to 10,000 executions. And what that means is an execution is basically one instance of somebody buying something and then running that workflow to add them into your MailerLite group. So if more than 10,000 people purchase something from your Stripe account within 1 month, because it's 10,000 a month, then you're going to have to start paying for Pipedream. But to be honest, if more than 10,000 people buy something from your Stripe account within a month, congratulations, well done you. Paying for Pipedream isn't going to be a big deal. So in order to make this work, we need to hook Pipedream up to Stripe and to MailerLite. And there are a couple of other setup tasks we need to do as well. So let's do those things. First of all, I'm going to hook Pipedream up to Stripe and MailerLite so that they can all talk to one another. So in order to do that, once I've logged into Pipedream, I go to Accounts and I'm going to choose Connect an App. And first of all, I'm going to start with Stripe. So it's asking for an API key and it's giving me a link very helpfully, which I can go to and get my API key from Stripe. So I'm going to click the link and at the moment this is in live mode, not test mode. If you don't know this, then Stripe has a test mode capability which basically lets you create test products and run test data through Stripe to make sure that things work. And we're going to be doing that today as well. It's always a good idea to test things. You don't want your first customer to be the first person to discover that something doesn't work. You need to know it works beforehand. So in actual fact, we need to connect up both test mode and live mode in Stripe to Pipedream because they used separate API keys. So for the live mode, so I've told test mode off at the minute. I'm going to create a secret key. I'm going to give it a name, Pipedream. And it's going to ask me for a password to confirm that I've got permission to do this sort of thing. And there it is, there's the key. So I'm going to click it to copy it, say done, and I'm going to go back to here, paste in the API key, and I'm going to give this a name, part-time VA Stripe live mode. There we go. It's a good idea to say live mode and test mode in the name so that you can distinguish between both of them when you go to create your workflow. So I'm going to do the same again, but this time I'm going to do it for test mode. So I'm going to go back to Stripe, put it into test mode, reveal my test key, click to copy and paste it in here. And then I'm going to say part-time VA Stripe test mode. Okay, so now Pipedream can talk to my Stripe account both in test mode and in live mode. Now I need to hook up MailerLite so that Pipedream can talk to MailerLite as well. So I'm going to connect an app again. This time I'm going to search for MailerLite. There it is. And again, it's asking for an API key. So I'm going to go over to MailerLite. This is my MailerLite account. And I'm going to go to Integrations. And I'm going to say under API Use and generate a new token. And I'm going to give it a name as well. Oops, in this case, I'm going to call it Pipedream again. Create token. I'm going to copy it. You should probably download it if you're going to use it somewhere else as well. I'm not, just for the sake of this demo, so I'm just going to not bother with that bit. Back to Pipedream, paste it in, and give it a name, part-time VA MailerLite. Okay, so now there's a couple more things we need to do. We need to have set up. First of all, in Stripe, we need a product. So again, in test mode this time, I've got my product here. And I've just put in a dummy product, which is a book I wrote, and I've created a payment link, which I'm going to use to buy my book in a minute to test that the whole workflow works. Okay. And the other thing we need is a MailerLite group to actually add people into. So I'm going to go to MailerLite, and I'm going to go back to my subscribers, to my groups, and it's saying I don't have any groups, so I'm going to create a group, and I'm going to call it Stripe Customers. Now, what pipedream needs is the ID of this group. MailerLite doesn't make it easy for you to find the ID of a group because it doesn't think you need it, and to be honest, most of the time you don't. But I'm going to show you how to find that ID now. If you click on View Group, and then up in the address bar, there's this group property here. That bunch of numbers is the group ID. So I'm going to copy that so I can use it in a minute. So back to pipedream. Now I want to create the workflow. We're going to start doing the stuff. So I'm going to go to workflows and create a new one. And it's asking me to add a trigger. The trigger is the thing that kicks this whole workflow off in the first place, which in our case is going to be somebody buying something from our Stripe account. So I'm going to choose Stripe, and I'm going to choose custom webhook events. Now, webhook is basically just a fancy name for a URL which Stripe is going to send payment information to. So I'm going to choose the Stripe account, which is going to be the test mode account to start with. And for the events that pipedream is going to listen to, I'm going to deselect star, which in computer world means everything. And there's only one event that I need, which is a charge succeeded event. That's the only event I care about. So the way this is going to work is that when somebody buys something from Stripe, Stripe has this option to send events, which are basically details of the payment information, through to a webhook, which is that fancy name for a URL that's listening for it. And in this case, pipedream is going to create that webhook on Stripe for us. So pipedream is going to be listening for those payment details. And Stripe has lots of different events it can send based on different scenarios. And the one that we care about is charge succeeded, which basically means that someone's been charged. You've got money for your product. Once you've got money for it, then they can have the product, yeah? So charge succeed is the only event we want. We don't want to listen to all events, otherwise we're going to use up our 10,000 executions quite quickly and not do what we want to do. So I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call it Stripe Purchase, and I'm going to create the source. So what this is doing in the background is pipedream is generating a unique URL, webhook URL, that it's going to register with my Stripe test mode account so that it can listen for Stripe payment information. It says it's done it and it's waiting for events. So I can confirm this by going over to Stripe and webhooks, and there's the pipedream URL, which has been registered and is now listening for events. So in order to give pipedream an event, I need to make a purchase. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go to my payment link and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to make a purchase on Stripe. So I'm going to buy my book. Email address in test mode, you can put in basically anything you want. So I'm going to stick them in there. For card information, I'm going to use a Stripe test card. Now, Stripe has lots of different test cards with different card numbers, and the different card numbers define what the sort of events that Stripe's going to emit. So in our case, I'm going to use this card number, which is 4040 repeated, which basically signals to Stripe that you want the payment to go through successfully in test mode. And it doesn't matter what the expiry date is or what the CVC is. For the name on the card, I'm just going to put in part-time VA, and I need a billing address. So I'm just going to put in a random address. It's got to be a real one. There we go. Right. And I'm going to pay. Okay, so it says it's been successful. So if I flip back to pipedream again, I can see I've got one new event. Here it is. Let's have a look at this event. So this is the data that pipedream received from Stripe. I can see that the event type was charge.succeeded, which is what I wanted. And all the interesting information is in this data object. So if I break down data and go into object and just scroll down, I can see I've got billing details. which is where all of the interesting information is that we care about. So test account and the name. So it's the email address and the name. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the next step of the workflow, which is adding that email address we've just received from Stripe into MailerLite. So I'm going to add a MailerLite action, and it's going to be subscribe to MailerLite group. And I'm going to choose my MailerLite account, and I need that group ID. So I'm just going to nip back to MailerLite and grab that group ID again, paste that in there. Then the name is going to come from the data object like we saw earlier. Okay, and then the email address is going to come from the same place, there. And now I can test this. So this is actually running my workflow from that test event that came from Stripe, and it says it's successful. So I should be able to go over to my MailerLite group and see that I've got a subscriber, and if I view it, then the subscriber is me. And if I click on that, I can see that it's got my name in there as well. So there's just a couple more things we need to do to make this go live. So it's saying that we can deploy it here, but at the moment this is still hooked up to our Stripe test mode account, so it's only going to receive events from Stripe in test mode, and we want it to go live, so we want to use our Stripe live account. So I'm going to change the trigger configuration to be the live mode, and immediately I'm going to get these warnings. This is basically pipedream wants to go through the whole process again and revalidate the event data to make sure that it's still getting the same information, but we know that it will, so we don't need to do this. So we're just going to leave the warnings, ignore them, and we're going to give it a name, Stripe purchase. In fact, I'm going to call it Stripe to MailerLite. There we go. And I'm going to deploy it. There we go. So now if I go back to my workflows, I can see there's my Stripe to MailerLite workflow, which is currently deployed. Now, it might be that you want to break this down a bit more, so that it might be, for example, that you sell a number of different products which are quite different from one another, and you want to add somebody to a different group in MailerLite based on what product they've bought. That's totally possible. I'm going to show you how to do that in another video because this video is long enough already, so just check out the other videos on my channel, and thanks for watching.